Last week, the National Bureau of Statistics released that data indicating that Nigeria GDP moved from 188 billion US dollars to 243 billion dollars there as well, using the base year of 2019. In naira terms, we will now move from 205.09 trillion naira to 372.82 trillion naira there. This has placed Nigeria as one of the fourth largest economy in Africa, behind South Africa, Egypt, and of course Algeria. There we are still far behind this country. A lot of people have alluded to the fact that the devaluation of naira has affected the Nigerian GDP numbers. Let's get the reaction from Dr. Sam Omale, who is the president and CEO of Rock Global Investment Network. He joins me virtually from London. Good morning, Dr. Sam.
Good morning, Yusuf. Thank you for having me here again.
Thank you so much, sir, as always. Let's look at these GDP numbers. Nigeria is still far behind in terms of our economic ranking in Africa. We are the largest in terms of population, but we are the fourth largest economy in Africa as it is right now. What do you make of that?
Yes, you know, we termed this largeness as if it's an achievement. Largeness, size, does not mean efficiency. It does not mean productivity. It does not mean anything. It's efficiency, it's effectiveness, it's production that's important. So let's drop this large population thing. Austria, for all I know, has a population of 5 million. UK is something million. And yet more powerful, one of the most powerful countries. But anyway, so the rebasement that just happened, if you remember, has also incorporated, apart from changing the base year, has also incorporated other items that were previously excluded from the calculation of the GDP, including things like e-commerce, things like mining. I don't know how they're able to include that. I don't know how they're measuring the mining activities, because for all I know, it is still very artisan. Then also they have incorporated the informal activities. What does that mean? What does informal activities mean? The woman frying akara on the street, or the hawker on the street. How are they going to incorporate all this? So, like you said, this increase reflects, I think, about 38% from the prior estimates. And like you said, it makes Nigeria the fourth largest economy. But the three things that I want us to observe that the items or the sources of this thing that has improved the activity of this included things like the service industry dominates at 55%. Think about that. Services like teaching, consultancy, all this stuff. 53%. That is a markdown already. And it's followed by agriculture, which is about 25%. And maybe the guy coming from agriculture will tell us how does measure the rate on ground. And also have industries. Get industry 21%. And that's where the problem is. As I'll talk maybe later on, comparing growth and development.
Right.
Industry in a third world country should be aiming higher than just 1%.
All right. Doc, let's see how we can make this economy work for all. You have said that GDP is not about the largest economy. How can this bigger economy we are looking for? I mean, the target is 1 trillion naira, $1 trillion by 2030. How do we make this economy work for everybody? Which is more important?
That's a very good question. And, you know, we are fixated on numbers. We are fixated on noise making. And that's the question you asked just now is what everyone should be asking. How do we translate these improvements, how do we translate it into things that will be meaningful to us? Because, let's face it, even with this so-called improvement, the quality of life in Nigeria has not in any way improved. So, to answer your question, answer your question directly, I'll compare economic development with economic growth. GDP measures growth, but GDP can be accounted by a fraction, a 2% 20% of the population can account for the whole GDP. So GDP is a normative, it's a nominal figure that shows growth, but in itself does not translate in the improvement or living standard of people. It does not reduce poverty, and it doesn't lead to better health, education, and it's a more and there's no equitable distribution of resources when you're using GDP. So your question directly, therefore, is economic development. And economic development looks at the improvement of life of the people, things like literacy rates, lifestyle, life expectancy, and also income distribution. That can only come when there is a focus on industry, focus on factors of production, which includes creativity, for example. How creative are we? And for creativity, I'm asking you a question directly now. How do we improve the quality of life? It brings about creativity. People see a problem, and creative ideas come, and they put these creative ideas into action, and a product, a service is born to solve problems. To do that, you need people. These people have to be educated, quality education. These people have to be in an environment that is conducive for that kind of thing to happen. Then you need innovation. Innovation could be a new invention or an improvement of what is there. These are things you have to logically think about. And then you need production. These three elements: creativity, ideas, not this noise we're hearing. There's so much noise of politics and all that going on. They don't translate into development. Politics, the way it's been noise about, does not need creativity. We need innovation, and we need production. These are the things that will literally improve the quality of lives of the citizens.
Of the people, which is very, very important. Doc, the rebasing has lowered Nigeria debt to GDP ratio to 40%. That is down from 52% as previously calculated, and well below the 55% threshold recommended by the World Bank and IMF. This gives Nigeria more physical space to borrow if it wants to borrow. What do you make of this? I mean, we've borrowed enough already, and of course, we still fall below the threshold recommended by IMF and World Bank. Do you think this has given government some leverage to borrow more?
Listen, borrowing, in fact, all nations are highly indebted. But the question I always want to ask is, what are we borrowing for? What are the specific projects that these borrowings are being tied to? You don't borrow for consumption. You don't borrow to service lifestyle.
All right.
You borrow for investment. You borrow such that the project in which this money, I mean, when companies, if you go to companies' accounts, we have what we call loans. Now, these loans are the sources of financing in the capital structure of a company. Now, these loans that come, they come in terms of loans or in terms of donation or whatever it is they come. They are tied to a specific project that will be implemented, and it will repay back the loan. So my point is not borrowing, but what project, number one, what project are they plowing this borrowing to? And have they calculated the repayment structure, how it's going to be repaid by the project in which that money is being, for example, if we borrow money to construct rail from Abuja to Kano, that's a straightforward project. Now, the passengers along the route, that fly from Abuja to Kano to Zaria to Kano, right, and back, that's one source of income. Then the value chain that the stations will create is another thing. You get, so these are things that I can't see in the borrowing characteristics of Nigeria. They just borrow. But, for example, didn't we borrow or spend 16 billion on power during the Obasanjo years? Where's the power? So it's not we have not reached the threshold there. So you borrow more for what? Nigerians should be asking, why are you borrowing? Because this borrowing is going to tell on us and our children. These guys will have been gone and our grandchildren will be paying back. But what are they paying for? They can't see structures, they can't see schools, they can't see bridges, they can't see infrastructure, they can't see power, they can't see rail, they can't see anything. It's just depletion, ruins, and all kinds of stuff. And old SUVs that they have bought and used. That's where Nigerians should vote. And the Senate, and they have, I mean, the way it's constituted, and it's very annoying. They don't scrutinize anything. The thing just comes and they pass. Because they will get their own salaries. And so anyway, so is the reason for every borrowing should be tied to a specific project, and that project should be structured, you analyze such a way that when you do a business plan, that this project is capable of repaying back within a period. And I'll be fine with that.
Indeed, quite interesting. I'm sure we're going to get another time to discuss Nigeria debt profile and whether we still have the capacity to borrow more. What we have even done with the one we have borrowed. Currently, we are currently indebted to the tune of about 200 trillion naira already. And of course, we have a new borrowing plan has already been approved by the Nigerian Senate. I must thank you, Dr. Sam Omale, President, CEO, Rock Global Investment Network, for your time and this brief analysis. We appreciate your contributions.